Welcome back to It's Technically Romance, where we take a look at Hallmark movies from our two different perspectives, mine being the hopeless romantic.
And mine being the cynical cinephile.
I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Hamilton.
And we are on YouTube now.
This is our first visually recorded episode. We thought we'd try something new for season 2. I do filming myself, so I had the equipment. So we're gonna give it a whirl, see how this goes. So this is us. Hello.
Hello.
And yes, we wear Christmas sweaters and fleece shirts all year round. This is nothing special for us.
No, every single day. It's just what we wear.
Yep, every day.
No, we wanted to be festive for the countdown to Christmas kickoff.
The big weekend.
For the Hallmark Channel movies. And we've had a really good weekend.
It was a really great weekend. It was a little it was busy, but it was one of those busies that like really invigorates you, you know, like we had a great time talking with other podcasters, talking to people that were live tweeting, talking to the actors and the people who make these films. It was awesome. It was really great. Everyone's just really hyped up for the season, hyped up for these films. And I think we're pumped. We're pumped to, see this through.
We're so pumped.
So pumped.
So pumped.
So pumped that we're doing a Paul Campbell movie tonight.
I mean, he's our favorite. One of our favorites.
Yes. He has a special, I'll say this. He has a very special place in our heart because he was really the first one that got me into Hallmark. You guys have heard the story a million times. But Window Wonderland and also the Driftwood one, which I always forget the name of.
Surprised by Love.
Surprised by Love. That's really, I think it was really Surprised by Love that caused me to, look at these films in a different way. So Paul has a very special place in my heart.
Yes. Paul Campbell also has a special place in my heart because he is the reason that you started really enjoying the Hallmark movies with me. So thank you, Paul. So today we are talking about his new movie, The Santa Stakeout.
Yes, the Santa Stakeout, which has a good name. I like to think about the titles in these. I'm liking it. It's a stakeout. It's with Santa. Sure, let's go for it. Stephanie.
Yes, Hamilton.
What did you think of the Santa Stakeout? This one had so much high hopes from both of us.
Yes, my hopes were very high for this one, and it met my expectations as well as surpassed them.
Ooh, so this is one that you would watch again? You wouldn't just have it on the background?
No, I would absolutely watch this movie again. This movie was so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
I think that's a great way to think of it, yeah.
So for those that may be new to listening to our podcast, if you're just finding us on the YouTubes. We have a rating system where, our whole thing is the rewatch value.
Yeah.
So if you would watch a movie again, then that is a good rating. It's a good sign. So would you want to watch this movie again? Wholeheartedly.
All right, sit down and watch it. Full
attention. Sit down, full attention. Would you maybe want it on in the background while you're, whittling some wood?
I do whittle.
Or would you never want to watch this movie again?
For me, this is definitely one that I would sit down and watch again. I think like you, it both met and surpassed my expectations. There's a lot of good here, and I think a lot of the good comes from Joe Pantoliano, who is absolutely remarkable in this film. I mean, he is astounding. I was cracking up with him. I was crying with him. He just made this movie something else entirely, something I haven't seen before, and it was different, and I'm all here for it. And obviously Paul Campbell in my eyes, and I think yours, can do no wrong. And yeah, it was just great.
Yes. It was incredible. It was different for Hallmark.
Very different.
It was just so exciting to see something new and fresh and funny. The comedy was just nonstop.
It's like every line had humor to it. Like this was not like, we'll throw some jokes here and there. It's like every scene had to have a joke in it. They went hard on the jokes, and I think for the most part it worked out. There's a few little hiccups, very minor things. I think we can talk about, but no, the comedy was great.
Absolutely. Well, before we dive right into it,
Hmm.
I will do a quick plot
Please
summary
do.
for those that maybe have not seen the movie.
These world renowned plot summaries. The first time you're going to see a plot summary actually with your eyes. So take note. Go ahead.
My world renowned.
Go ahead.
I do have to read it because it's not memorized. Detectives Ryan and Tanya have to go undercover as newlyweds to try and catch a thief. So they move into the rent house next door to their main suspect. Though they are complete opposites, working together on the case lends them time to get to know one another and find that people aren't always what they seem, and that love was the true mystery they solved.
Oh my god, I really just want you to be hired by Hallmark to write these. They're so good. That was great as per usual. That was
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
And the movie stars, like we said, Paul Campbell, Joe Pantoliano.
Tamera Mowry-Housley.
I don't know if I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've seen one with her before. I know she's done one or two, right?
She's only done a few, and I think there was a gingerbread. I'm going to forget the title of it. Gingerbread one with her.
Mhm.
And I would say this one is my favorite of hers, even though I've only seen the one other one. But I thought she did an amazing job.
Mhm.
Obviously, I really haven't seen much of her since Sister days,
Yeah.
which I was a huge fan of. So I felt like her being able to do full comedy in this movie was a little bit of a likening back to like her Sister days. And yeah, I just absolutely loved her in this movie.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think I've seen one with her before.
You weren't a big Sister
I've
fan either?
saw a little bit of it. I've seen a little bit of it. I remember liking it. Um, but no, I really liked her. I think she played well off Paul. Um, I think she grounded the film some. She was funny, but I think she was kind of sort of the rock in this film that sort of tied everyone together essentially. Um, and yeah, I like what she brought. I really did.
Yeah, her character is the by the book, like rookie, she follows the rules.
Mhm.
And Paul Campbell's character, Ryan,
Mhm.
is the complete opposite.
Yeah, well, here's my first thing with this film, right? So let's talk about the meet cute real quick because really that's I think where it gets a little weird for me. So she walks into the office, the police office. The police office is decorated to the nines, by the way. Like it looks beautiful. I've never seen any police office look so beautiful.
I don't know if cops really go that hard for
I
Christmas,
hope they do.
but this precinct,
Be festive when you're getting, read your rights. Be festive.
yeah.
So she walks in, she sits down, and immediately, Paul Campbell's character starts commenting on how her desk looks like the North Pole. And it's like, man, just look around you. The whole office looks like the North Pole. She has like one little Christmas tree on it. And he is supposed to be kind of like slovenly, like he's got wrappers on his desk and he's kind of messy. Um, and so I'm like, all right, this is his character. And there's even like a reference to The Office, like the way they have their desk set up and the way that the camera was with the wide shot on this. And there's even the stapler reference. They were, mimicking The Office, where it's Jim and Dwight. Like that little back and forth was definitely a reference to The Office. And so we're supposed to get this sense that he's like this, like I said, this slovenly character.
Is he supposed to be Dwight?
He's supposed to be Dwight in this scenario. I think he's supposed to be Dwight in this scenario. But what's interesting to me is that sort of character we don't see at all once they're together in their stakeout house. We see her like commenting about a maid, like I'm not your maid kind of thing. And then we don't see any more mess from him. We don't see any of that sort of, throwing trash everywhere. And that was kind of weird to me.
I don't think it was so much of like the trash aspect. It's just that he's just not he's not concerned about being neat or organized or playing by the rules. He's just kind of like a chill cop. He definitely gave me some Jake Peralta
Yeah.
from Brooklyn Nine-Nine
Oh,
vibes.
for sure.
So much as so that he had like the hoodie
Yeah.
on, very casual. But yeah, she mentions his car is a mess. Like,
But it's
when was the
not.
last time you cleaned? He had a McRib
I know, but that's the only thing in the bottom. Like if you look,
box in it.
they had a nice wide shot from the front of the car that showed the entire car. There was no trash on the dashboard or on the back seat. You know, like the little dip on the back window.
Yeah.
There was no like stuffed animals back there or wrappers. It was only on the ground near her foot was one McRib. And yes, that is super gross, but it's just that one gross thing.
I mean, we didn't really see the floor, so I mean that's
the
probably
trash.
where all of the trash was, as where most trash does go
So
in a car.
to clean up, he just knocks it off everything onto the floor, and so it's like a field of leaves, of dried leaves when you get into his car.
That's what your trash goes on the ground. I don't think he's like tossing back his McRibs in the back of the car.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, it was just to kind of show he's not
clean.
He's not clean, but it wasn't just about being clean. It was just that he's just kind of like
he's whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
Fly by the seat of my pants.
Gotcha.
Whatever devil may care.
Devil may care. I like that.
Is that the
sure.
phrase?
Devil may care attitude. Why not? Well, what did you think of the meet cute? Because I liked it, especially the office vibes.
No, I really liked it too. I love, and just from the get-go, Paul Campbell is just like a masterclass on comedic faces.
Yeah, she had some faces too.
Yeah, very sister. It was giving me some sister comedy vibes, and I think it was a lot of fun for both of them to play, and you could really tell in the movie that they had a lot of fun together.
I hope so. I mean, they were great, and even to the point where, just a quick little technical, the camera would often sort of push in on their faces because they'd be doing some, especially Paul would be doing some like wild eyebrows kind of looks kind of thing, and so the camera would push in on that, and the music would kind of swell, and it would hit that sort of comedic note every time.
Yeah, I loved their back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
It was
just quippy.
It was quippy. It was very quick, and it seemed authentic. Like, I really love their progression in this movie from really disliking each other, pretty much annoying each other, to being able to tolerate one another, to the friendship aspect, and then more.
I did too, except for the fact that I just felt like he's sort of left that sloppy side of his by the wayside, and I was like, where did that go?
You just want him to be like Pigpen and Charlie Brown with some like dust floating about.
That's kind of how they set his character up, and so I just wanted him to stay true to that character for a little bit longer. Like all of a sudden he's baking, and it's not a mess. It's like a clean baking surface. There's a little bit of flour on the marble tops.
Well, we do get that line in the movie where she's like, "Why are you hiding all your best qualities?" So
that's a great line. That is a beautiful line.
Yeah,
I like that line. So let's talk a little technical. You guys, the first thing I like to talk about with you all is lighting. Obviously, lighting for me was done really well. I mean, there wasn't anything that I noticed right off the bat that made me kind of stop and wring my fist in anger. Why? Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit softer than I normally like. There wasn't a lot of shadowing on the face, and but there was some shadowing, some contour to their faces, and their outside lighting was wonderful. So really, if I had to grade it, I'd probably give this A-, B+ for me.
Oh, are we getting a lighting rating system?
Sure,
now?
Why not? Well, I'm going to throw it out there. No, but it was really soft too, in terms of just like the color and the tone. There wasn't a lot of contrast to it. It felt good, and even the coloring was done well. So I liked it.
Yeah, everything looked good to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would give it an A+.
An A+? You go for the A+?
An A+, except for the snow. The snow gets a.
I didn't even notice the snow.
The snow gets an F.
I didn't even notice the snow. So I don't.
It looked like cotton balls were strewn together.
Okay.
So that was something that I did notice, and yeah, it just looked like.
Well, that's a shame because that would be set design, and I feel like the set designer did wonderful for the interiors. Like I said, the police station was done well, and it was realistic. Hallmark seems to have really pulled back on their decorating, which makes it feel more real. Even though that she loves Christmas and loves to decorate, even their like stakeout house isn't insane. It's just enough with some twinkly lights for the bokeh shots. It was nice to see. But I'm sorry, the snow was not. I
Yeah,
didn't even notice it though.
I guess they
notice it.
gave all they got to everything else, and then they were like, "Oh shoot, the
The
snow!
snow, we forgot snow. It's in Denver. We
Just
need
run
snow.
and get some cotton balls. We'll figure it out."
Oh, I'm sorry you didn't like the snow. I mean, we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. We've just started, and it's not until the later half of these movies that we actually might see some snow in some locations.
I know, but let's talk a little bit about the amazing Mr. Miller.
Oh my goodness! Please,
I mean,
give this man an Oscar. Give this man an Oscar.
every time he was on screen, I can't even explain to you what this character did to me. He played this part so beautifully.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like intricately woven between like, so this guy's supposed to be their suspect, or he is the suspect.
He is the main suspect.
And they think he's been on this string of heists,
Yep.
stealing art.
Art.
And he just seems like the sweetest guy. But
God, I love him.
it's this like very thin line of like super sweet and a little creepy.
Yeah, there's this undercurrent of rage that sits right below the surface of Mr. Miller.
I don't know if I felt the rage, but just a little like
darkness. I'm sorry. How about darkness?
He's up to something.
An undercurrent of darkness, and so
sinister.
An undercurrent of sinisterism.
I guess that is darkness.
Sinister. I like sinister. So, yeah, and it's very fascinating to watch him act this role out because he talks so quiet and so sweetly, and it's hilarious.
His like gentle way about him.
So good.
And he gives these little looks. One of my favorite scenes is when the door of the garage is slowly coming down and he's just smiling at them. It was just a sight to behold. It was beautiful.
It's his inflection too. Like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Like, I can't even do it, but just watch this movie.
Tanya or Tasha. Sorry, they have code names.
Code names.
But
his inflection and then his smile when he lowered the garage and just the way he's just standing there and the way it was shot too. Again, I got to give props to the DP because they shot that well. Like, it's so exciting to see a role like this, and it's a character we haven't seen before in a film. Correct me if I'm wrong out there, but I don't think we've seen a role like this.
He's not like a Dwayne character in You, Me, and the Christmas Trees, who was just a true villain. This guy is just, you don't know yet. You're watching the movie. Is he the villain? Is he not?
Well, we knew.
Yeah, we figured it out.
So here's the thing about
early
us.
on.
We watch so much like murder mystery shows. Like, we have, British murder mystery shows, police procedurals on repeat all the time. And so we know what's happening. We know what's going to happen here. And obviously he's not going to be the culprit because you don't have an interesting film that way. And so as soon as we met Lois, as soon as I saw Lois, I knew it. You can go back on Twitter. You can do the timestamps. You see it. Act 1, I'm like, that's Lois. She has to be it. Because she looks so sus. She had, the sus.
Yeah, there was a little nervous underlying
and she played that well too.
There.
I mean, she played that well too. And the back of my mind though, because some people, were live tweeting everyone. Some people on Twitter were like, "Oh man, I bet it's Stanley." Because we meet Stanley this time too.
Stanley seemed pretty sus also.
I mean, his wife and him run an antique and art thing, and even Ryan kind of was like, "Oh, where do you get your art?" There seemed to be kind of like, maybe you guys are it. And even towards the end, when they see the painting and in Mr. Miller's car, Stanley, if you notice, is down the road being like, "Oh, what's going on? That's super weird." And I'm like, "Oh my God, is it you?" Like, I had nailed down Lois, but then seeing Stanley there, I was like, maybe they're gonna do something crazy. It's gonna be him and his wife.
I mean, maybe they did have like a little side ring going on that they just didn't find out
God, it
about.
was great. But
So
I mean, we've seen him before. That actor.
Tom Pickett
He,
is
oh my
excellent.
God, he was in what is the
20,
camping one?
27-hour day
27-hour
where he
day.
got to do some of his vocal chops.
He can sing. This man can sing. This man can act.
This man was bringing the comedy in this movie. I feel
Yeah.
like this was one of my favorite characters he's played so far.
Yep.
When he says that, I need some chiropractic help.
Yep.
Man, that shot when they just like close up on his face when Ryan is, behind him with the like
Oh, he looks so happy. Like it's such a, and again, we have great camera work here because his face is sort of out of focus, and Ryan is in focus as he comes up, and Stanley's face is like, oh, he's like so excited. Like he has this look on his face that he's so excited to be getting this free like back, adjustment, and then it just turns to just pain and dread afterwards, and that was a great scene. That was a lovely scene.
It was. And speaking of chiropractic,
Yep.
this.
Oh, what do you? I'm curious. No, go ahead. I'm curious to see how you're gonna. Okay.
No, I'm bringing it back
All
around
right.
to their cover story.
Bring it back
so
around.
this is one of my absolute favorite tropes: is people being undercover as newlyweds.
Is it really?
Yes,
I didn't know this. Okay.
I love it. And when I found out that this was going to be the premise of this movie, I was just like, genius.
Yeah.
Especially, pairing two very like funny people that, can do comedy well. So yeah, just everything. I love it. It gives me a little anxiety, but I really do enjoy it because the anxiety is because, oh, but what if they get caught?
Okay.
So
I was like, okay.
the lying, all of the lying, like when are they going to get found out?
Oh yeah, how I went to college in Tallahassee. That whole scene, yeah, I was sweating a little bit. You're right.
Yeah, and she's snooping around Mr. Miller's house.
Oh
Like,
no, that's oh my goodness. Like she was in that room for a long time. It's like, girl, get that stuff, get out. And of course, Mr. Miller's creeping up those steps. You don't hear him because he's stealthy. And he's like, Tasha, what are you doing in here?
That's my Joe
We're
Pantoliano
awful.
impression.
We're so sorry, Joe. If you hear this, we're very, very sorry.
Yeah, Joe's listening to this.
But I mean, just his inflection, like, what are you doing? Like, it's so quiet, and yet there's weight to it. Like, that he could just snap at any minute. And oh man, like he plays it so well. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be talking about him all night. Just please watch this film. It is hilarious. That's it.
He's phenomenal. But one of the funniest scenes to me is when Stanley comes jogging along when
with his weights,
when Tanya's locked out of the house, and then they have to like improvise and talk about great improv. Tanya, she is like really good at like thinking on her feet.
Yes, she is.
So, but I just love that scene where they're like stumbling over their words and like trying to figure out, some cover names on the spot.
Yeah.
So she goes with Tasha, which is, not too far off from Tanya.
Yeah.
And then I just love that she goes with Rupert
Why
for
not?
Ryan.
Why not? Rupert, Ryan, same thing.
What a great name. And so yeah, just the comedic little things they get into with like trying to lie and navigate of their backstory and everything. I love that kind of stuff. It just really tickles me.
Yeah, no, and again, I mean, this was a full-on comedy. And they rocked it. And I got to give props to another character, which is Talbot. Talbot plays the sort of bumbling police officer. I'm not sure what his rank is. He's kind of like the captain's assistant kind of guy, and also props to the captain too, which we'll get to the captain in a second. But Talbot, I mean, think about this: you're the comic relief in a comedy. Like, how hard must that be? Like, you have to be like so funny to pull that off. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's in my opinion, I feel like that would be a very hard role to play. Talbot nails it. I mean, again, every scene he's in, I'm cracking up.
Oh my gosh, what a character.
And physical comedy. This man is falling all over the place. Just great physical comedy actor.
Every scene, he's either falling into the scene or stumbling out of it, or where he's got all the fishing poles when we first
Yeah, the
meet
captain
him.
likes to fish.
And he
Captain likes to
makes
fish.
some joke about, well, the only thing I'm fishing for is compliments. And right away I knew Talbot was going to be
Near and
one
dear
to
to our
watch.
hearts.
Yeah. And it just would keep getting better every time he would come into the scene.
Yeah, and I think my favorite Talbot scene, I mean there's a couple of them, but when he does
Every scene.
but when he does the impersonation of the chief, because we have a heist movie with the cops, and so it's like a buddy cop film, right? So the chief is gonna be like, oh, you two, I'm so mad, da 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 da. Instead, it's so clever. Instead of the chief doing it, we have Talbot doing an impersonation of the chief to them, and it's so clever. It's so clever because it's that same trope of the captain yelling, but it's through Talbot, and it's brilliant.
Who's this just, kind of timid, like, obviously clumsy guy as we've seen. So, yes, fantastic. And he was played by Raph Rogers.
Yep. Great job. And just real quick on the captain, again, we have the captain who is very much the yelling captain. I'm so disappointed in you guys. Get in here right away.
But he really wants to go on that vacation with his wife and get a daiquiri.
He loves that little umbrella. And again, just
So
a nice little twist to him.
He's not too rough around the edges. So you mentioned how much of a comedy this movie is.
Yes.
And yes, this movie is pretty much all comedy.
Yeah.
So being the romantic expert on the podcast here, I do need to talk.
We don't have a comedy expert on this. Unfortunately.
We do need to talk a little bit about the romance.
Oh, do we? I mean, come on.
So this movie didn't have like the normal typical amount of romance that I look for in a Hallmark movie.
Yep.
But what they did have, I thought they did a very nice job of sprinkling it in. So it definitely wasn't anything that I was like full on swooning over.
Right.
But it was very subtle. And to me, it made sense for these characters that it wasn't love at first sight. And to me, it seemed more grounded in reality of how their romance progressed. And there's all different kinds of love. So I feel like theirs definitely started with, the partnership, the friendship, and then they realized there was a little bit more. So even though it wasn't full on romance for me, I still enjoyed the little bits that I did get.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, I'm trying to sort of think about this because you said romance. I'm like, oh, that's right. This is a romantic movie, allegedly. So yes, it was a little subtle. There were little moments here and there, and at the end, we don't get it. I love. Thank goodness it felt more realistic, but
it really just felt like a really good friendship that they found.
It did. I mean, it felt like a buddy cop movie.
Yeah,
and the love. I mean, this is kind of what I have a problem with just a little bit, is that the love almost felt like tacked on. Whereas like, oh, we need to make sure that these characters are progressing to love. Let's have.
I mean, it is a Hallmark movie.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's it. I don't know. I'm kind of flummoxed because the comedy is so good, the movie is so good. The love to me was just like this backstory. It's like, okay, that's something. I'm doing a hard job of explaining. I'm doing an awful job of explaining this, but it wasn't important to me in this film. Whereas in other ones, I was like, oh, they have no connection here. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, I got it. I'm stumbling, but I got it. The connection between the two characters and the actors was so good that I didn't care if it wasn't just like this steamy romance.
Oh yeah, no, it was not steamy. That's not what these two were about. But it definitely, like I said, it was subtle and it was like a slow progression.
There you go.
And it made sense for their characters.
Yes. Okay. Good. I'm glad I worked through that with you.
I would say the scene that probably I felt the most chemistry with was when they have the little dance.
Yep.
Towards the end.
Yep.
I mean, we have little moments here and there we do get a before end kiss, if you want to call it that, where they're under the
Oh,
mistletoe.
those looks under that mistletoe. The looks were great.
So I will say that that the kiss itself was not anything to write home about.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be.
It wasn't.
Right.
But the music, there was like a swelling there of music, and then that look that Ryan gives her when they pull apart,
Right.
like that said everything. That he was like, it surprised him. We don't really get to see, well, I think we see her face, but it was more so on his face.
Yeah.
Like that he was like, oh, I didn't hate that.
Yeah, but it was just so beautiful, that look. Like I know exactly what you're talking about, and it was, yeah, there was something really magical about that look, that kiss, really. And I usually hate the mistletoe scenes. I hate it, especially when like people are like yelling. It's like, no, really, kiss her, like
So
kiss her.
aggressive and pushy.
Like I just had onion dip. No, kiss her.
I never understand that. I'm never like, I need to see you kiss.
No, it's like the whole crowd is just like watching.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, so that was a really nice scene, and that kind of did, that was supposed to be the kickstart to this, and that's where we see him kind of pull back away from his like slobbiness.
He had some walls, some sloppy walls around him. So, and I mentioned the swelling of the music there, and so it brings me to remember how great I felt about the music in general overall in this movie. I thought was excellent. And I thought it was a great score. And I just want to shout out Sean William, who did the score for this. He also did the music for Right in Front of Me, which I had actually called out the score and that music in that movie as well.
There you go.
Yeah, we're fans.
But honestly, if you want to know, because you guys hear us talk about the music and how it's just so ridiculous in a lot of these films, if you want to see how to do a proper, score for a film, watch this movie, listen to it, because you don't notice it, and you're not supposed. It's like camera work, right? You're not supposed to notice it. It's supposed to enhance the film, and it does. It does so well. He makes it rise when he needs to. He softens it. There's no crazy jingle going on through all the laughing moments, because it would be going on constantly for this film, obviously. And it almost has like a little Home Alone, Danny Elfman vibe to it in certain scenes. That nice Christmas creepy little jingle. I say jingle, but the creepy Christmas tone throughout, and it's just lovely. It's just done very well. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Just another quick scene about love. I'm gonna do a little love. I'm gonna do a little romance. So they're sitting on the stools, right? And it's gonna be a little technical. I'm gonna combine the two. At the hot cocoa bar where Mr. Miller brings him a flight of cocoa.
Here's some really good flights that I got for you guys. Was that good?
That is awful. Oh my! I'm gonna have to cut that out. I'm gonna have to cut it out. It's cut. No, it's actually pretty good. So they're sitting on the stools at the cocoa bar, and it's this beautiful wide shot. And again, we don't normally, and I think this is like the second time, maybe there's more, where there's a nice little wide of them from the side. And I love these types of shots because we're able to see the decorations. This sort of cocoa bar is decorated beautiful, and we see them, and the camera's almost hidden by these two trees, and so we have the leaves of the trees kind of dirtying the frame on the side, and it's just a nice push in with the music swelling, and they're talking, and I love it. I mean, it's a magical shot. Everything is just working in this shot, and I think it shows you, technically why this film is so good, and it's lit well too. So really, I was going to talk about romance, but it ended up being technical because I just love this shot. But
because you're in love with the shot.
There you go. I'm in love with this shot, and that was just a wonderful thing. So I just want to shout out Jeff Wallace, who is the DP on this film, and also Peter Benson, who is the director. Just great work, just outstanding work. Yeah, because you guys know technical. That's my wheelhouse, and you guys did a great job.
And while we're on the technical, shout out to the writers as well for the fantastic comedy that we received in this movie. The witty back and forth banter.
Yep.
And there was some heart also. There was a lot of heart, actually.
Yeah.
So
especially for Mr. Miller. I mean, the story about his wife, like I got teary, like at the dinner table when he's talking about her, and just my wife Kathy, like he always says my wife Kathy, like just it was heartfelt, like it got to me. And then at the end, obviously,
Is that a tear?
it's a little bit of a tear because we're being filmed. Yeah.
You're gonna watch me wipe his tears.
And then at the end, obviously, with what happens with him, just so emotional and just it was great. Just it made us feel, it made us laugh. It was
It had just a little bit of everything. So all that to say, great job, Greg Rosen and Brian Sawyer.
You know who else was sort of cracking me up in this film was the neighbor who was constantly flirting with Ryan. I mean, that character,
Alicia,
was ridiculous right from the start. Keep in mind, this neighbor is flirting with Ryan with, his wife right next to him.
I mean, they all believe that is his wife. So
I know, and she's going at it. She's going at it hard.
She does not care about the sanctimony
of marriage. Sure. And the looks that Tanya gives her, like when she's doing it, is just hilarious. Again, we talk about the facial expressions in this movie. Just the serious, is this really happening? Just throughout the film.
Excuse me?
It is so good. I don't know why they added that. I have no idea, but great little detail there.
It was perfect. And I love the line where they're kind of like going over the different neighbors and like how they could maybe possibly be suspicious. And Tanya's like, and Alicia, oh no, and Ryan says, and Alicia is just super into me. And then Tanya says, well, and that's the most suspicious thing of all.
Like little lines like that, they're so great. They're just fun.
Can we talk about, just for a second, that throughout this movie, so we have two detectives.
Yes, we do.
And Tanya is the rookie.
Yep.
And Ryan, they've mentioned a few times like that he, is the hardest working detective in the precinct.
But he does things by his own rules.
But watching this movie,
yep.
Am I the only one thinking Ryan is not a very good detective?
In what way, Stephanie?
I mean, Tanya literally has to save him, like all the time. He gets himself in these situations where he's just stumped and he can't think of anything. He's not very good at going undercover, apparently.
Apparently not, no.
And, I'm thinking, he has this moment where he talks a little bit about how his wife left him and, maybe it was because he was the hardest working cop. So it was like, was that his former life and now he just doesn't care to try very hard? I'm just not sure, because when Tanya tells the story about why she left her old precinct,
right.
And she says, oh, my dad was the chief and I didn't want anyone to think that I was moving on up or getting any special perks because he was my dad,
right.
Which makes sense. And so she's like, so I had to work extra hard, and then he's like, oh, so that's why, you have such great attention to detail. And I'm like, no, Ryan, that's because she's a good detective. Like, do you not have good attention to detail? I feel like that is something that you need to be a good detective.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he was the greatest. I think she was awesome, which was great to see. I think he was just kind of coasting at this point, and maybe he was a greater detective. Maybe he was a greater detective in his past life,
in his youth.
I'm kind of curious to see what he does that's not by the book. The captain made him seem like a wild card,
he
kind of guy.
Eats big ribs in his car.
Yes, all the time. Keeps him there for years. So. Yeah, it was a little weird, but I wasn't bothered by it or anything.
I wasn't bothered by it, but I just was like, man,
No, she was definitely the better.
Yeah, she definitely was the better one.
100%. So let's talk, if we can, and this is going to lead into something. I want to give a quick shout out to the costuming in this film, because not only do we get Mr. Miller with his wonderful outfits and his suspenders, like those suspenders. Like I need to be wearing suspenders right now, like thick suspenders.
Next time.
And also the costumes they wear to the gala event when they're going undercover. So they're elf costumes. They're going doubly undercover because they're going undercover again. That scene was hilarious, and I hate that the previews like ruined it for us. I wish they had kind of kept that a secret because it is so ridiculous. And we have, in these action movies, in these buddy cop, kind of films, there's always that slow mo walk when the team's together, and we get that, and it is fantastic. It is so good. I mean, Tanya, does her hair back, when she's walking in. Talbot falls down in his little
He
drummer boy
trips
outfit.
as
Like,
he does.
it is hilarious. And and Ryan does his ball gets in front of his face, and so he does the same thing that Tanya, like,
He's just watching Talbot fall.
and it's so good. And
One of the best slow-mo scenes I think I've ever seen.
because I agree, because it's like you kind of know it's coming when it happens. You're like, oh, this is gonna be kind of lame. They're just making fun of the slow mo scene, but they do it beautifully. So props to everyone that had a hand in that scene, because it is magical to me.
Yes, it was so funny. Not expecting Talbot to go falling in the background, and because it's slow-mo, like it just makes it all that much more funny and amazing.
It's so good. He's such a good character. Like, oh my goodness. And then you have your romance when they're dancing, and
Yeah, like I said, I feel like that was one of the scenes that I felt the most chemistry.
yeah,
I love that, when he's like, "Oh, so when all of this is over," and she's just like, "Absolutely." Like she doesn't even like
Yeah.
give him a chance to finish. So I love that there was no, guessing or questioning or feeling like, "Oh, maybe we should." And it was just like, "Nope, I'm in."
yeah. And of course, paintings are stolen that night, and they think it's gonna be the ornament, which was a neat twist. I thought it was gonna be the ornament too. It's paintings by Van Gogh, by Van Gogh,
Goth.
by Van Gogh.
That's the proper
That's
way
Van
to
Gogh.
say it. Yeah.
They're planted, in Mr. Miller's truck, and again that scene with Stanley, peeping by the bushes, like, we know it's you, Stanley. We know it's you. And he's like, oh, I didn't do this, but I'll go. Like, he's so good at this. And from here on out, it gets a little sad. I'm a little sad. How did you feel about this part of the movie?
Sad because they take in Miller and it's not really him.
Yeah, and we get this.
Or sad that the movie's over.
Maybe
or...
a little bit of both. A little bit
yeah.
of both. But I mean, his story, and even when he's interrogated by them, he's just so calm and collected. And we get something that we don't normally get in films in general, especially in a Hallmark film. We get this idea about forgiveness for ex-cons, and forgiveness in the sense that they've served their time, they're just trying to make it in the world. And I love that sort of theme and message in this film, because it's not something we see, especially around Christmas. I love that, this idea of forgiveness during Christmas, and just acceptance. And even though that he was like 15 years ago, he had this felony charge, like
I think it was like grand theft or something.
theft,
Yeah.
He can change, and he's helping other ex-convicts, and I love that message. I really, really love that message.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way. I kept thinking that film. I was like, oh, this is really a beautiful
Yeah.
little thread that they've woven into this movie. And which I don't know if a lot of people were thinking about, but we were. And yeah, I just thought that was really neat, because obviously they're suspecting him because they see that he has had charges in the past. So of course he's going to be the one that they
He's at the crimes too.
And that.
Not wearing his beard properly. I mean, those like photos of him, like the beard's down here. It's like, oh, I can tell by the watch. No, you can tell because his beard is off of his face. It's the same guy, like, come on.
But no, I love that he wasn't actually the thief.
Yeah.
And he really is just the sweetest guy.
Yep. And of course it's Lois. We knew it. We got her.
We really did.
But really it's Stanley. And so
maybe they were Lois and Stanley. They were
Cahoots.
and his wife. They were all working
Cahoots.
together.
It's a great. We need to start bringing back cahoots. Great word. And it wraps up nicely. We get a really fantastic end scene. Lately Hallmark's been doing some stuff where it's like 1 year later, 6 months down the road, they get like 5 different endings. We get a true Hallmark ending here, where it's just one ending.
And we don't really have like a conflict. Like there wasn't, because I was wondering how they were going to do it. We don't really have a conflict between Tanya and Ryan where they like get mad at each other, and
maybe that's why I like this movie.
One of them does something to like upset the other one.
You're right. Usually you would have something like, oh, you got my perp or something, but we don't have that. It's
You tried to take the credit for this
yeah,
one, or
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, man, that is why I like this movie. So, end scene happens. They feel bad. They get the Christmas committee together and they celebrate Mr. Miller, who is an absolute gem of a person. And
I mean, he wears suspenders.
yeah, wonderful. And of course, they walk down. They start reminiscing about the for rent sign, the house they shared. So much magic there.
Is that a thing? When a house is rented, there's a sign that says rented.
Sure. I don't know. I actually have no idea. Maybe. Yeah. I would.
Because
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
I'm going to say it is, especially in Denver.
But in this little
And it
town,
is.
this neighborhood, that's how they do things.
There's this great exchange where Ryan talks about, do you want to make gingerbread with me if I'd ask you over? She says, yeah. And he's like, why not right now? And, he's the one that rents the house. And it's beautiful. It's lovely. It's just what we needed to kind of end this film. And yeah, not really any big missteps.
Well,
we have missteps. We have missteps apparently. Go ahead. Lay it
no,
on me.
I wouldn't call it a misstep per se.
Mm-hmm.
I would just say that the kiss at the end.
I don't care about the kiss.
Well, I do. That's where I swoop in and I talk about the kiss. I've started a little kiss-o-meter. I'm trying some out. I think we're still stuck on the fire right now.
I like the fire.
I got a few comments that people were into it. So thank you for the feedback.
Keep the fire going. Just keep that fire burning.
So as far as like what level of fire this kiss was on, was it a wet campfire? No, I wouldn't say that. But Blazing Inferno, not a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it lies somewhere between the spark and the wet campfire. So I'm thinking of like, it was just kind of like the kindling of the fire. So the spark's not quite there, but the kindling is there. And so maybe it could turn into sparks. So that's where we are with that end kiss. But I really did love the scene itself and the words that were spoken. And apparently Ryan makes excellent gingerbread. So
yeah, which was surprising.
Yeah. It's a little cheesy with it. She's like, I think you found a partner for keeps.
Does she say
but
that?
She
I
does.
totally missed that.
She does.
Wow, how did I miss that?
And he's
times?
like, uh-oh. And then that's when he goes in for the kiss. But
for keeps.
it was cheesy, but it was sweet. And
Go get him, Coop.
But I really liked it. So was this the most romantic movie ever? Absolutely not. No. But it had so many more other things that gave me feelings. Mm-hmm. So I still thoroughly enjoyed it. It had Christmas spirit. It gave me the Christmas feels. It was about family and friendship and community and forgiveness. And it was a really, really great film. A really good way to end the first weekend of Countdown to Christmas.
It really was. And you just mentioned family, and you, the one that pointed this out, actually, is that, Ryan mentions that, they both share each other's Christmas drinks, which is kind of cool. And Ryan's is eggnog with like a lot of rum in it. And Ryan's like, oh, my dad, this is my dad's special drink. And she's like, and he's like, oh, it's super strong. And he's like, well, my dad liked to relax a lot. And then later on the film, he says, I didn't really know my dad at all. And so it was just kind of
he's like, I never knew my dad.
He says, I never knew my dad.
Yeah. So
a bit of a misstep, I think.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I did have it in my notes. I was like, well, I thought he knew his dad liked to relax and drink hard eggnog, but now he's saying he never knew his dad. So I don't know if that was a little flub in the script, but
very minor. But you mentioned family, and that just triggered that. So besides that minor flub,
but real quick, those drinks, her drink sounded amazing.
I'm surprised we haven't made it yet. It's gonna be good.
So it's coffee with cocoa and cinnamon.
Not cocoa. I thought it was chocolate powder.
Well, she said cocoa, which is, so it was like coffee with cocoa and cinnamon.
So like a mocha.
And some like whipped cream. Yeah, I guess like a mocha. Okay, barista.
Yeah, I'm slinging those drinks. And that is the Santa Stakeout, which was a true delight for us both, I would say. And it's going to be very hard, in my opinion, to top this first weekend. They came out swinging on all cylinders, I think, which is the correct saying.
Sure.
But it really is going to be hard to top this because each one of these movies, I thought was done very well. So great job, Hallmark. Great job, everyone that had a part in this, and super excited to see what's coming up next.
Yeah, I hope they didn't just like give us the best right away and then the rest are, gonna be meh. But because normally they don't put the most amazing ones right at the beginning, at least, not for Fall Harvest. But shots fired. But no, this was a great set of movies. I'm so pumped for the rest of the season, and yeah, I hope you guys are too.
Yep. Thank you all again. Hope you enjoy seeing us. We're going to be trying to do this probably once a week if we can keep up with it. We'll see. If the feedback is good for them, we'll obviously try to do more. But
or if you guys are like, I do not want to see you.
Don't want to see this.
I'd much rather just the voices.
But no, thank you all for tuning in. Please make sure to continue to like, subscribe, review, follow. And yeah, it really helps us out. And please, keep messaging us. Again, I say this every time. I love reading your messages. You guys are so into these films as just as much as we are. And I love having discussions because sometimes you agree with us, sometimes you don't. And it's a blast for me. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, we truly, truly cannot thank you all enough for your support, for sticking around, that we have a season 2 of this podcast, and we are still having so much fun doing this. Really are. So you can see the love now, not just hear it, but thank you again, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.